Hey everybody, this is the Shredded Scholar, Dr. V, Louis Venners. Just sitting up here at the house, chilling, being shredded and stuff. That's what we do. The boys are doing their thing, and I brought the dogs outside. It's beautiful out here. It's quiet. I wanted to sit and finally talk about this amazing teaching experience that I had last week. To tell you the truth, there's some stuff that was going on that didn't have anything to do with my classes or my students that had kind of got me down, and I didn't realize how much I needed a really, really crackerjack day in the classroom until it happened. And it wasn't just with one class, it was all three of my classes, one right after the other. It is not every day. It is not every day that everything turns out better than you plan. But this is one of those days that just, this reminds me why I get up in the morning. So it started with, I do not represent my university on social media. To tell you the truth, I wear a shirt and tie in the classroom. So just with that caveat, I just want to talk about my students a little bit. Started with Intro to African and African American Studies, and what we're doing right now, still the beginning of the semester, is some of the intellectual foundations and origins of Black studies programs in the United States. And on Thursday we were talking about, of course, Afrocentrism and varieties of Afrocentrism. We started out talking about epistemology, ways of knowing, and the Eurocentric model. And so then what are the possibilities for human advancement if we put Africa, African people and people of African descent and African ways of knowing at the center of our analysis, Black experiences at the center of our analysis. It was absolutely wonderful. We ended up talking about Black Panther, of course, and Pan-Africanism and representations of Africa, and the idea of African knowledge, African humanity at the core of the world, at the center of the world, saving the world. My students were on top of it. And then I went to U.S. history since 1877, and we were in the Gilded Age. We're talking about social Darwinism and the tension that we've always had in the United States and really in the Western world and so forth, between ideals of equality and democracy on the one hand, and the reality of privilege and hierarchy and the kinds of inequalities that we're willing to tolerate. And my students were just right on top of it. It was fantastic. But it was not until South Carolina history really that things started to just sing. And what we're trying to do in South Carolina history right now is, so we've basically finished up our introduction to indigenous societies in North America and in what would become South Carolina in particular, Mississippian civilization and so forth. We're beginning to look at encounters between indigenous peoples and those who came from across the ocean, from Europe and from Africa. So what we were doing on Thursday was looking at Spanish settlement on the southeast coast of North America. We looked at San Miguel del Gualdape, the first Spanish colony in mainland North America, north of Mexico. We looked at Port Royal and competition between France and Spain. We looked always at sort of what are the indigenous perspectives. We looked at the Escamacu War that basically pushed the Spaniards back into the ocean. We were trying to get to Barbados. We were trying to get to the English colony in the 1620s that was the place where the English perfected their own plantation model with the production of sugar based on African enslaved labor. But we got hung up for a good long time, because my students needed it, with sugar and the emergence of the idea of race. And it was truly, truly amazing, the give and take, the questions that they asked, their receptivity. We were able to range over sugar and its production from New Guinea, India, through the Mediterranean, the Portuguese exploration of the African coast, the emergence of the plantation model in Sao Tome, then Brazil, then the West Indies. Why is it that the English and other European powers are trying to cut in to the Spanish and Portuguese colonies in the New World? How is it that England got possession of Barbados? And through it all, the centrality of Africa, the centrality of labor and know-how from Africa, the emergence of the idea of race. It's a long topic. My students were all ears, asking fantastic questions. Well, hasn't there always been xenophobia? Hasn't there always been slavery? What do you mean that blackness only emerged with sugar, with the sugar plantation? What do you mean that race didn't really exist before the 1500s? So it's way more than I can do in a short video here. I mean, it needs to be a series of lectures and discussions. Absolutely fantastic. If you want more on this particular subject, of course, you start with Sidney Mintz, Sweetness and Power, the classic. Check out my friend Derek Smith's article about the pupil of the eye metaphor in the Journal of Baha'i Studies. You want to check out Charles Mann's book, 1493, that is a great synthesis of the up-to-date scholarship about the African settlement of the New World. And of course, the big new book that has just come out, I haven't even finished reading it yet, but it's already been rocking my world in the best possible way, is French's book, Born in Blackness, about Africa and Africans at the center of the creation of modernity. It is fantastic. So all that is to say, even professors need a reminder every now and then of why they do what they do. My students keep me going. It was a fantastic experience. I'm so grateful for the scholars I get to work with, and especially for the scholars in training that I get to work with every day. This is the Shredded Scholar out here promoting strong bodies, tender hearts, open minds, open eyes. Catch y'all later.